The desert wind carried dust and secrets across Highway 95 north of Las Vegas. It was the kind of night that made men believe in ghosts when the darkness pressed close and the stars seemed too far away to matter. 3 motorcycles cut through that darkness, their engines a low rumble that echoed off the distant mountains. 3 men who thought they were going home. 3 men who were wrong. Vincent Blackwood rode in front, 46 years old, but looking older in the harsh moonlight. His Harley-Davidson Road King was a 2004 model, black and chrome, maintained with the kind of care most men reserve for children. Behind him rode Tommy Brennan, 24, all reckless energy and loyalty that bordered on stupidity. The kid had a laugh that could fill a bar and a temper that could empty one. Third in the formation was Kyle Mercer, 20 years old, quiet as a church mouse rode like he'd been born on the 2 wheels. They'd just concluded business in Vegas, the kind of business that involved cash in duffel bags, handshakes with men whose names you didn't ask, and enough tension to make your teeth ache. Arms dealers from Juarez, looking to move inventory through northern Arizona. Vincent's chapter of the Hells Angels had connections, transportation, and most importantly, discretion. The deal had gone smoothly. Too smoothly, Vincent thought later. Should have known. The speedometer read 75. Highway 95 stretched ahead like a promise, empty and dark. No other vehicles in sight. Vincent checked his mirrors out of habit. Saw Tommy and Kyle holding formation, keeping distance, riding smart. The wind tore at his leather vest, the one with the patches that told you everything you needed to know about him. Hells Angels, Northern Arizona, 1%, property of no one. That's when the headlights appeared. No warning, no gradual approach from behind. Just suddenly there, blazing white in Kyle's mirrors. A black SUV, no front plate tinted windows that looked like holes in the night. It came fast. Too fast. Kyle saw it first. He tried to accelerate, tried to get clear, but the SUV swerved and caught his back tire at an angle that defied physics. Metal screamed. Rubber burned. Kyle went airborne, his body separating from the bike in a cartwheel of leather and limbs. He hit the asphalt at 70 miles an hour, tumbled skin tearing away through his jeans bones, snapping like kindling. Vincent's brain registered it in fragments. The crash, the scream of metal, Tommy yelling something. The SUV cutting across their path, forcing them off the road into the gravel shoulder. Vincent tried to brake, tried to control the slide, but 1,800 pounds of motorcycle had its own ideas about momentum. His front wheel caught a rut and the bike went sideways. He felt his shoulder pop out of the socket before he even hit the ground. The impact drove the air from his lungs. Ribs cracked, his helmet smacked pavement, and his vision went white, then red, then dark at the edges. He tasted blood, copper, and salt. Through the haze of pain he heard Tommy cursing, heard boots hitting gravel. His vision swam back into focus. 4 men climbing out of the SUV. Not cops. Cops would have announced themselves, not rival bikers. These men moved with military precision, fanned out with weapons already drawn, hired professionals. The kind who didn't ask questions and didn't leave witnesses. Vincent tried to move, tried to reach for the .45 in his vest, but his right arm wouldn't respond. Dislocated shoulder. Useless. He rolled onto his back lungs, screaming for air, and watched Tommy stagger to his feet. The kid had always been a fighter. Came from a long line of Irishmen who solved problems with their fists and asked forgiveness later. Tommy had his hands up, not in surrender, but in challenge. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. His bike was 10 feet away, front fork bent, done for the night. "Come on, then," Tommy said. His voice was steady despite the blood. "Let's have it." The lead man didn't hesitate, didn't speak, just raised his pistol, a matte black Glock that looked like an extension of his hand, and fired. 3 shots, center mass, professional grouping. Tommy's chest opened up in red flowers. His expression went from defiance to surprise to nothing at all. He dropped like someone had cut his strings. Vincent tried to scream, but no sound came. His cousin. The kid he'd taught to ride. The boy who'd idolized him since they were children, dead on this empty highway. "Check the others," the lead man said. His voice was flat Midwestern American as apple pie. "Make sure." Vincent's vision blurred. Tears, or blood, or both. One of the men walked toward him, gun pointed down. This was it. This was how it ended. Not in a bar fight or a prison yard or any of the ways Vincent had imagined. But here on a desert highway, killed by strangers for reasons he'd have to figure out on whatever came next. The man raised his gun, and then car headlights cut across the scene. Not the SUV. Something else. Something smaller. A Honda Civic old and rusted, the kind of car a working person drove because it was all they could afford. It pulled up maybe 50 yards away and just stopped, engine idling, headlights illuminating the carnage like a stage. For a moment nothing happened. Vincent's brain tried to process it. Innocent motorist, wrong place, wrong time, witness. The killers would have to deal with it. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. Vincent couldn't see her clearly through the glare of headlights, just a silhouette. Medium height, slender build, dark hair. She wore scrubs under a jacket. Medical scrubs, blue. Like she'd just gotten off a shift. She should have driven away. Should have slammed her car in reverse and gotten the hell out of there. That's what any sane person would do. Instead, she started screaming. Not words, just sound. Pure primal terror, the kind of scream that activates every ancient survival instinct in the human brain. The scream of someone who just stumbled onto a murder scene and doesn't know what else to do. The four killers turned toward her confused training, momentarily disrupted by the sheer unexpectedness of it. And in that moment of distraction, Vincent saw his chance. His left hand could still move. On the ground beside him, maybe 2 feet away, was a tire iron that had fallen from Kyle's saddlebag. Vincent's fingers closed around cold steel. Every nerve in his shoulder screamed protest, but he didn't care. He swung the tire iron in a wide arc and connected with the lead man's knee. The crack was audible even over the woman screaming. The man went down, howling, clutching his shattered kneecap. The other 3 hesitated. Just for a second. Training said eliminate the threat. But which threat? The biker with the tire iron or the screaming woman who might bring more witnesses? The woman ran, not away from them but toward her car's trunk. She popped it open and pulled something out. A flare gun, the kind boaters kept for emergencies. She pointed it at the sky and pulled the trigger. Red light exploded overhead, brighter than day, painting the highway and the desert, and all of them in scarlet illumination. The flare arced up and up, a distress signal visible for miles. The 3 still standing killers looked at each other. This wasn't the plan. Clean quick, no witnesses. Now there was light and noise and a woman and the possibility of more cars coming. The mission was blown. They grabbed their wounded partner and dragged him back to the SUV. Tires screeched on asphalt as they accelerated away, leaving black marks and the smell of burned rubber. Silence fell over the highway. The flare drifted down on its parachute, still burning, casting everything in emergency red. The woman walked slowly toward Vincent. Her hands shook so badly the spent flare gun rattled. She dropped it, knelt beside him. Her fingers went to his neck, checking his pulse with practiced efficiency. "I'm a nurse," she said. Her voice trembled but held steady underneath. "Stay with me." Vincent tried to speak. His lips formed words, but no sound came. His vision was tunneling darkness creeping in from the edges. The woman looked past him at Kyle lying motionless in a spreading pool of darkness, then at Tommy clearly dead. Her face went pale, but she didn't look away. She had seen death before, you could tell. "You're going to be okay," she said, though Vincent wasn't sure if she was talking to him or herself. "I promise." His vision went dark. When Vincent woke, he had no idea how much time had passed. Minutes, hours. The ceiling above him was concrete, water-stained, cobwebbed. A single bulb hung from a wire, throwing harsh shadows. Not a hospital. He could tell that much. The air smelled wrong, musty, underground. He tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his entire torso like he'd been hit by a truck. Ribs, shoulder, everything screaming. "Don't move!" The woman from the highway appeared in his field of vision. Same dark hair, same scrubs, but now he could see her face clearly. Maybe 28, 29. Dark brown eyes that had seen too much. Capable hands that moved with certainty as she checked an IV line running into his left arm. "Where am I?" Vincent's voice came out as a croak. "Friend of mine. Doctor. He owes me favors, no questions asked." Vincent looked around what he could see without moving his head. Concrete walls, medical equipment that looked second-hand, surgical lights, an IV stand, boxes of supplies, a basement, someone's underground clinic. "Kyle," Vincent said. "Tommy." The woman's face told him everything. She shook her head. "I'm sorry. Your friend, the younger one, he was already gone when I got to him." Tommy, dead. Vincent felt something crack inside his chest that had nothing to do with broken ribs. "The other one," the woman continued. "Kyle, he's alive. In the next room. But his back was broken in the crash. Lumbar vertebrae 2 through 4. I stabilized him as best I could, but he needs a neurosurgeon. Soon." "Can you move him?" "Not safely. Not yet." Vincent closed his eyes. Tommy dead. Kyle paralyzed. And him lying in some underground bunker because going to a hospital meant answering questions they couldn't answer. "Those men who attacked you, the woman said quietly. "They came looking. Went to every hospital in a 50-mile radius. Asked if anyone brought in gunshot wounds or motorcycle accidents. Described you. What did you tell them?" "Nothing. Because you weren't at a hospital." Vincent opened his eyes, really looked at her. "Why are you doing this?" She was quiet for a long moment, then shrugged. "Because someone has to. Because I've seen enough people die this year." There was a story there, pain in her eyes that had nothing to do with what she'd witnessed on the highway, but Vincent was in no condition to pry. "What's your name?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was careful. "Evelyn." "Evelyn what?" "Just Evelyn. That's all you need to know." Fair enough. In this world, sometimes less information was better. "I'm Vincent." "I know. Your friend called you that before he died." "Before he died." The words hung unspoken. "How long have I been here?" 2 days. 2 days. Christ. My people will be looking for me." "I know. I found a number in your phone. Brother's right, I haven't called yet. Wanted to make sure you were stable, but I can call them now if you want." Vincent thought about it. His chapter, Northern Arizona. They'd be losing their minds by now, Tommy's family, Kyle's. They needed to know, but something made him hesitate. The men who attacked us. They knew we'd be on that highway, knew when, knew the route. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. "You think someone told them?" "I think this wasn't random." She absorbed that. "Then calling your people might not be safe, not until you know who to trust." Smart. She was smart. "Give me another day. Let me think." Evelyn nodded, went back to checking his vitals. Her hands were steady now, professional. Whatever terror she'd felt on the highway had been compartmentalized, put away in whatever mental box nurses used to stay functional. Over the next 3 days, Vincent learned more about Evelyn Marlowe than she probably meant to tell him. Little things. The way she muttered to herself when she worked calculating dosages. The fact that she preferred coffee black and strong, drank it at 3 in the morning when Kyle's fever spiked to 102. She'd been a nurse for 6 years, working emergency rooms in Vegas. Before that, nursing school in Phoenix. Before that, she didn't talk about. There was a wall there, a place her life began at age 22 when she started college, and nothing before that mattered. Kyle drifted in and out of consciousness. When he was awake, he asked about his legs, asked if he'd ride again. Evelyn didn't lie to him. She said she didn't know, but the odds weren't good. Kyle took it better than most men would. Just stared at the ceiling and didn't cry. On the 3rd day, Vincent woke to find Evelyn packing supplies into a canvas bag. Medical equipment, bandages, medications. "You're leaving," he said. She didn't look at him. "Your people are coming. I called the number, told them where to find you. They'll be here in a few hours." "Where will you go?" "Somewhere else." "Evelyn, those men. They saw you. If they find out what you did, they'll come after you." "Then I'll make sure they don't find out." She finished packing, slung the bag over her shoulder, turned to face him. For just a moment, the professional mask slipped, and he saw how young she really was, how scared. "Thank you," Vincent said. The words felt inadequate. This woman had saved his life, saved Kyle's life, asked for nothing. "I owe you, both of us do." Evelyn gave him a small, sad smile. "You don't owe me anything. Just stay alive, make it count. I don't even know your last name." "Better that way." She walked toward the stairs leading up to ground level. Vincent called after her. "If you ever need anything, ever, I'll come. No questions, no hesitation. I swear it." She looked back over her shoulder. "I'll remember that." And then she was gone. 3 hours later, Vincent's brothers from the Northern Arizona chapter arrived. Ray Dalton, his vice president, Colt Monroe, his road captain, 6 others all wearing the same patches Vincent wore. They found him sitting up in the basement, Kyle unconscious in the next room, and Tommy's body covered with a sheet. They didn't ask many questions. That was the thing about the Brotherhood. When one of them went down, you picked them up. You figured out why later. They got Kyle to a doctor they trusted, a retired Army medic who'd done field surgery in Afghanistan and didn't bother with paperwork. The diagnosis was as bad as Evelyn had predicted. Kyle's spine was broken. He'd never walk again. Tommy Brennan was buried on a sunny afternoon in Flagstaff. Full honors. 47 riders in formation. Vincent stood at the graveside, shoulder still in a sling rib, still taped, and made a vow to his cousin's memory. Whoever ordered that hit would pay. It took Vincent 3 weeks to figure out who. Wade Garrison. The name came from sources Vincent had cultivated over 20 years in the life. Former ATF agent turned arms dealer working the Southwest Corridor. And not just any arms dealer. Wade had a personal stake in the Hells Angels. 3 years ago, Wade's younger brother Daniel had died in a bar fight in Prescott. Massive head trauma. The man who'd thrown the punch that killed him was Tommy Brennan. It had been ruled an accident. Daniel Garrison was drunk, belligerent, swung first. Tommy defended himself, no charges filed, but Wade never forgot. Then Vincent's chapter had intercepted a shipment of Wade's weapons coming out of Juarez. $2 million worth of inventory gone. The Highway 95 ambush wasn't just business. It was revenge and economics wrapped together. Wade had tried to kill all three of them. Would have succeeded except for a nurse who happened to drive by at exactly the wrong moment. Or the right moment, depending on your perspective. Vincent sat in the clubhouse chapel, the meeting room where the Brotherhood made decisions. 47 members of the Northern Arizona Charter watched him. Patched members and prospects. Men who'd bled with him, fought beside him, buried brothers with him. 12 years ago, Vincent said, a woman I'd never met saved my life. She didn't ask for money, didn't ask for protection, didn't even tell me her last name. She just did what was right. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealed the fresh tattoo over his heart, a skull with wings, the classic Hell's Angels death head. But this version had something different. The left wing was incomplete feathers, missing like something torn away. This mark is for her, Vincent continued, a reminder that some debts can never fully be repaid. You just keep trying. He looked around the room at faces he trusted with his life. Her name is Evelyn. If she ever needs us, we come. No questions, no hesitation, no matter the price. Ray Dalton stood. What are we looking for? A nurse, late 20s, dark hair, drives an old Honda, works emergency rooms, probably left Vegas after that night. Colt Monroe frowned. Boss, that's not a lot to go on. It's what we have, so we look, we call in favors, we check hospitals in Nevada, Arizona, California, we find her. And if she doesn't want to be found, Vincent was quiet for a moment, then we make sure she knows we're looking, that if she ever needs us, all she has to do is ask. The vote was unanimous. The Brotherhood approved the search, approved the resources, approved the commitment. Vincent spent the next 12 years looking for Evelyn Marlowe. He never found her. But 12 years later, her mother found him. The morning sun filtered through lace curtains in a modest house on the edge of Flagstaff, Arizona, the kind of house that had seen better days but was maintained through sheer determination and elbow grease. Loretta Marlowe stood at her kitchen stove stirring a pot of beef stew. 72 years old, silver hair pulled back in a practical bun, hands that had seen decades of work but remained steady despite arthritis creeping into the knuckles. She wore a simple floral dress and an apron that had belonged to her mother. On the counter beside her, a phone sat within easy reach. Muscle memory made her pick it up and dial without looking at the numbers. 3 rings. Then a tired voice. Hey, Mom. Evelyn, honey, you sound exhausted. A sigh on the other end. Just finished a double shift. Traffic accident came in at 5 this morning. Didn't get out until 7. Loretta stirred the stew, adjusted the heat. You need to rest. I will, promise. I'm making your favorite tonight. Beef stew with those little potatoes you like. Come home, eat, sleep in your old bed. There was a pause, the kind of pause that meant Evelyn wanted to say yes but was already thinking of reasons to say no. I don't know, Mom. I got some things to take care of after work. Things can wait. Your mother can't wait forever. Another pause. Then a soft laugh. You're not being fair. I'm 72. I don't have to be fair. All right, I'll try to make it by 7. Not try, do... Yes, ma'am. Loretta smiled, hung up the phone. Her daughter was 40 years old now, independent, capable, but there was something in Evelyn's voice lately, a tension that hadn't been there before. Or maybe it had always been there and Loretta was only now allowing herself to notice. Evelyn had moved to Flagstaff 12 years ago, showed up one day with a suitcase and a haunted look in her eyes. Wouldn't talk about why she'd left Las Vegas. Wouldn't talk about the people she'd left behind. Just said she needed a fresh start. Loretta had learned not to push. She had learned that during her years as a Navy nurse stationed on hospital ships in the Pacific during the late 1960s, you saw young men come back from places they couldn't talk about with that same look in their eyes. The look that said, I've seen something I can't unsee and asking me to talk about it won't help anyone. So Loretta didn't ask. She just made beef stew and kept Evelyn's childhood bedroom ready and called once a week to check in. 20 miles away at St. Mary's Medical Center, Evelyn Marlowe peeled off her scrubs and tossed them into the laundry bin. 40 years old, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, eyes that had learned to compartmentalize pain because that was the only way to function in an emergency room. She had worked at St. Mary's for 12 years. Before that, Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas. Before that, well before that, didn't matter anymore. Her locker stood open. Inside was a change of clothes, a photo of her mother, and nothing else. No husband, no kids, no complicated life. Just work and the quiet weight of a secret she'd carried for 12 years. Evelyn? She turned. Dr. Marcus Flynn stood in the doorway of the locker room. 50 years old, graying at the temples, one of the few people at St. Mary's she actually considered a friend. Patient in 3 wants to thank you personally. The motorcycle accident from this morning. Evelyn frowned. He's awake already. Stabilized. You saved his life. Ruptured spleen, broken ribs, punctured lung. Another 10 minutes and Marcus would have been scraping what was left off the pavement. Evelyn nodded, pulled on her jacket. I'll stop by before I leave. She walked down the hallway, past nurses and orderlies, past the controlled chaos that was the heartbeat of any emergency room. Room 3. She knocked once and pushed the door open. The man on the bed was maybe 35. Bandages wrapped around his ribs, left arm in a sling, but he was smiling. You the one who put me back together. Evelyn offered a small smile. Team effort. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, but alive, so I'll take it. She checked his chart. Vitals stable, no internal bleeding. He gotten lucky. Someone's here to see you, she said. Visiting hours start at noon. Try to rest until then. Thank you, really. She nodded and turned to leave. And that's when she saw him. Standing in the hallway outside room 3, tall and well-dressed in a dark suit, graying hair slicked back, a face that didn't belong in a hospital, a face she hadn't seen in 12 years. Wade Garrison. Evelyn's blood turned to ice. He smiled at her, not a warm smile, not a friendly smile. The kind of smile a wolf gives before it closes its jaws. Evelyn Marlowe, he said quietly. It's been a long time. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Her throat had closed up. Wade stepped closer, lowered his voice so only she could hear. 12 years I've been patient. But patience has limits. He glanced past her at the man in the hospital bed. Thanks for saving my guy. I appreciate it, really. Then he looked back at her eyes like chips of ice. We'll talk soon. And he walked away down the hallway out of sight. Evelyn stood frozen, heart hammering in her chest, hands shaking. She hadn't seen Wade Garrison in 12 years, hadn't heard his name, hadn't even let herself think about him. But he'd found her, and that meant everything was about to change. Evelyn made it to the parking lot before her legs gave out. She leaned against her Honda Accord, the same car she'd driven out of Las Vegas 12 years ago now, held together with hope and duct tape, and tried to remember how to breathe. Wade Garrison. Here, in Flagstaff. The man who'd ordered Vincent Blackwood's death. The man whose informant she'd killed in self-defense. The man who'd put a price on her head and forced her to vanish. She'd thought she was safe. 12 years. 12 years of keeping her head down, of not making friends, of living half a life because the alternative was no life at all. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Still coming for dinner, Evelyn stared at the message. Thought about Wade's cold smile. The way he'd said we'll talk soon, like it was a promise and a threat wrapped together as she needed to leave. Right now, get in her car and drive. Put Flagstaff in her rearview mirror the same way she'd put Vegas behind her. But where would she go? Wade had found her once. He'd find her again. And this time he might go after her mother to get to her. Evelyn's hands stopped shaking. A different emotion replaced the fear. Something harder, more dangerous. She'd spent 12 years running. Maybe it was time to stop. She got in her car and drove. Not to her apartment, not to her mother's house. To the Copper Tavern, a bar 3 blocks from the hospital. Dark, quiet, the kind of place which the people went to disappear for a while. She ordered a whiskey, downed it in one gulp, ordered another. The TV overhead played a baseball game nobody was watching. Evelyn stared at her reflection in the mirror behind the bar. 40 years old. Lines around her eyes that hadn't been there in Vegas. Gray threads in her dark hair. When had she gotten old? The door opened. Wade Garrison walked in. He didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge her, just sat down 3 stools away and ordered a beer. They sat in silence for 5 minutes. Then Wade spoke quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. 12 years, Evelyn. I've been patient. She didn't respond. You cost me 3 men that night. Good men. And then you killed another. My informant. The one person who could have told me where the Hells Angels were hiding that night. That was self-defense, Evelyn said, her voice barely a whisper. Wade laughed, soft, bitter. I don't care, I really don't. All I care about is that you took something from me, and now I'm going to take something from you. He stood up, dropped a 20 on the bar. Enjoy your drink, it's the last peaceful moment you're going to have for a long time. And he walked out. Evelyn sat there, heart pounding, mind racing. She paid her tab and headed for the door. Outside the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. She got in her car, turned the key. The engine sputtered, coughed, died. She tried again, same result, panic rising in her chest. She popped the hood and got out. She didn't know much about cars, but she knew enough to see that something was wrong. Wires cut, fuel line disconnected. This wasn't mechanical failure, this was sabotage. She pulled out her phone, dialed her mother. It rang once, twice, 3 times. "Evelyn? Mom," her voice cracked. "I need help." "What's wrong? Where are you?" "My car broke down. I'm on Highway 89, about 15 miles north of town. Can you pick me up?" There was a pause, Loretta's maternal instinct kicking in. "Are you in trouble?" "No, I need you, Mom." "I'm coming. Stay where you are." The line went dead. Evelyn got back in her car, locked the doors, and waited. 20 miles away, Loretta Marlowe stood in her kitchen, phone in hand, stew forgotten on the stove. Something was wrong. She'd heard it in Evelyn's voice. Not just the words, but what lay beneath them. Fear, real fear. Loretta grabbed her purse and car keys, turned off the stove, headed for the door. But as she got in her car and started the engine, something told her to stop. Some instinct. Some maternal sixth sense that whispered danger. She pulled into the parking lot of the Moonlight Diner. The same diner where she'd eaten lunch 100 times. The same diner where she knew the waitress by name and the coffee was always fresh. She needed to think, needed to calm her nerves. She walked inside, sat down at her usual booth, ordered decaf, and 5 minutes later 6 men in leather vests walked through the door. The diner fell silent. Not the kind of silence you get when someone drops a glass or when a couple argues too loud. This was different. This was the kind of silence that crawls up your spine and sits in your chest like a stone. 6 men in black leather boots heavy against the linoleum floor, chain wallets clinking with each step. The patches on their backs told you everything you needed to know. Hell's Angels. Northern Arizona chapter. The kind of men who didn't need to raise their voices to command a room. The waitress stopped mid-pour. A trucker at the counter kept his eyes on his coffee. A family with 2 kids quietly asked for their check. Nobody made eye contact. Nobody moved unless they had to. Loretta Marlowe watched them from her booth. 6 men ranging in age from maybe 30 to late 50s. The one in front was the oldest. Tall, broad-shouldered, gray-beard eyes that had seen too much. He carried himself like a man used to command. They took a table near the window, ordered coffee and pie, spoke in low voices, and that's when Loretta saw it. The lead man shifted in his seat, his leather vest moving just enough to reveal what lay beneath. On his chest, visible through the gap in his shirt, was a tattoo, a skull with wings, the left wing incomplete, feathers missing. Loretta's breath caught. She had seen that exact tattoo before, on her daughter's left shoulder. Evelyn had come home with it 12 years ago, wouldn't say where she'd gotten it, wouldn't explain why, just said it was a reminder of what Evelyn had never said. But Loretta was looking at the same tattoo now, on a Hells Angels biker, in a diner in Flagstaff. Coincidence, Loretta May Marlowe had lived 72 years. She'd served as a Navy nurse in the Pacific. She'd lost a husband to cancer and raised a daughter alone. She'd learned that coincidences were rarely coincidental. She stood up, walked toward the men's table. The diner held its breath. Loretta stopped in front of the lead man, looked him directly in the eyes, and said the words that would change everything. "Excuse me, sir, my daughter has a tattoo just like yours." Every head in the diner turned, not toward the bikers, toward the old woman who'd just spoken. The lead man stopped mid-bite of apple pie, slowly lowered his fork, his eyes narrowed. Not in anger, in something else, something heavier. He stood up, his crew stood behind him. When he spoke, his voice was low and rough. "What did you just say?" Loretta didn't flinch. She repeated herself, slower this time, like she wanted to make sure he heard every word. "My daughter. She has a tattoo just like the one on your vest. A skull with wings. The left wing incomplete." The man's hand moved to his chest, fingers brushing over the patch sewn into his leather. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he asked the question that would change everything. "What's your daughter's name?" "Evelyn Marlowe." The diner stayed frozen, but inside Vincent Blackwood's chest something cracked wide open. That name hadn't been spoken inside the club in over 12 years. "Ma'am," Vincent said carefully. "What did you just say?" Loretta met his eyes, didn't look away. "My daughter's name is Evelyn Marlowe. She has the same tattoo you do. She's had it for 12 years, and she's never told me where it came from." Behind, Vincent Ray Dalton exchanged glances with Colt Monroe. They knew what that tattoo meant. Every member of the Northern Arizona chapter knew. "Mrs. Marlowe," Vincent said quietly, "where is your daughter right now?" And that's when he saw it. The flicker of worry in the old woman's eyes, the tightness around her mouth. "Her car broke down, Highway 89, about 15 miles north of town. I was on my way to pick her up when I stopped here. I needed to think." Vincent turned to Ray. Didn't need to say a word. Ray already had his phone out. How many you want? All of them. Ray nodded and stepped outside to make calls. Colt moved to the window, scanning the parking lot. Old habits from years of watching their backs. Finn Rourke, the youngest of the group, looked at Vincent with questions in his eyes. Boss, is this her, the one from Vegas? Vincent nodded once. Finn's eyes widened. The legend made flesh. Vincent turned back to Loretta. Ma'am, I need you to listen very carefully. 12 years ago, your daughter saved my life. She pulled me off a highway in the middle of the desert when men were trying to kill me. She hid me. Protected me. Asked for nothing in return. Loretta's expression shifted, understanding dawning. I've been looking for her ever since, Vincent continued, to say thank you, to repay the debt, to make sure she's protected if she ever needs it. He paused. Let that sink in. If she's on that highway right now, alone, with a broken-down car, that's not an accident. Someone did that to her, and I need to know who. Loretta's face went pale. There was a man at the hospital today. She called me earlier. She sounded scared. I've never heard her sound like that. Vincent's jaw tightened. What man? Shuln? I don't know. She didn't say. Ray came back through the door. 12 brothers on their way from the clubhouse. 18 minutes out. Vincent nodded, turned back to Loretta. Mrs. Marlowe, I need you to come with me, right now. We're going to get your daughter. Loretta stood without hesitation. Let's go. Have you ever been on a motorcycle before? No. You're about to learn. They walked out of the diner together. 6 leather-clad bikers and one 72-year-old woman in a floral dress. The parking lot was dark except for the glow of the diner's neon sign. 6 motorcycles sat in formation, chrome gleaming. Engine silent but ready, Vincent walked to his bike. A 2015 Harley-Davidson Road King, black and silver, road-worn but meticulously maintained. He pulled a spare helmet from the saddlebag and handed it to Loretta. Put this on. Hold on tight to my waist. Don't let go no matter what. Lean when I lean. Trust me. Loretta took the helmet, looked at it for a moment, then at the motorcycle. She thought about her daughter, alone on that highway. Afraid, she put the helmet on. Vincent climbed onto the bike, kicked the starter. The engine roared to life. Loretta climbed on behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist, felt the power of the machine thrumming beneath them. Ready, Vincent called over his shoulder. Ready. Ready. The other 5 bikes started in sequence, a symphony of controlled thunder, and then they were moving. Out of the parking lot, onto the highway, 6 motorcycles in tight formation. Colt took point. Ray and Finn flanked Vincent and Loretta. 2 more riders brought up the rear. The speedometer climbed. 60, 70, 85. The wind tore at Loretta's clothes. The helmet muffled some of the noise, but not all. The world became a blur of darkness and rushing air and the steady rumble of the engine. She had never felt anything like it in her life. For the first time in years, maybe decades, Loretta Mae Marlowe felt completely alive. Vincent's voice cut through the noise loud enough for her to hear through the helmet radio. Your daughter saved my life 12 years ago. I never forgot. Loretta tightened her grip, leaned closer so he could hear her response. She never told me. Never said a word. That's the kind of person she is, Vincent said. Does the right thing and walks away. They rode in silence for another mile, and then Colt's voice crackled over the helmet radio. Boss, I've got eyes on something 2 miles ahead. Multiple vehicles on the shoulder. Looks like a situation. Vincent's entire body tensed. What kind of vehicles? 1 sedan, dead on the side of the road. 1 black pickup truck behind it. 3 men outside. Looks like they're trying to get into the sedan. Vincent's voice went cold, hard. That's her. Go to combat formation. Be ready for anything. The 6 bikes shifted. Colt stayed on point but slowed. The others spread out, creating a wider front. Loretta's heart hammered in her chest. Not from fear, from something else. Something she hadn't felt since her nursing days on hospital ships. The sharp clarity that came before crisis. She might be 72, but she wasn't helpless, and she wasn't about to let anyone hurt her daughter. The motorcycles crested a small rise, and there in the wash of their headlights was exactly what Colt had described. A blue Honda Accord, engine dead, hazard lights blinking weakly, a black pickup truck parked behind it, headlights off, and 3 men, one holding a crowbar, one holding a flashlight, one on his phone. All 3 turned as the 6 motorcycles roared toward them. The engines were deafening, the headlights blinding. Vincent brought his bike to a stop 20 feet away. The others formed a semicircle surrounding the scene, engines idling, headlights creating a makeshift arena of light. Vincent killed his engine, climbed off, helped Loretta down. She pulled off her helmet hair, disheveled eyes blazing, and she ran toward the Honda. "Evelyn!" The driver's side door opened. Evelyn Marlowe stumbled out, pale, shaking. She saw her mother, and something broke inside her. She ran forward. They met in the middle, held each other. "Mom, what are you doing here? How did you find me?" "Shh, I'm here. You're safe." Vincent walked toward the three men. Ray, Colt, and Finn fell in behind him. The man with the crowbar took a step back. "Look, man, we don't want to trouble." Vincent stopped 10 feet away. Hands loose at his sides, no weapons visible, didn't need any. "Who sent you?" The man with the crowbar glanced at his companions. "Nobody sent us. We were just trying to help." "You were trying to break into her car." "She wasn't answering. We thought maybe she was hurt." Vincent took another step forward. "Try again." The man on the phone spoke up, braver or stupider than his friends. "Wade Garrison sent us. Said to bring the woman to him. Said she owed him a debt." There it was. The name Vincent had been waiting to hear. Wade Garrison. The man who'd ordered the hit 12 years ago. The man who'd killed Tommy. The man who'd tried to kill Vincent himself. "Wade Garrison," Vincent said slowly, "needs to learn to let things go." The man with the phone sneered. "He knows you're here, knows you're protecting her. He said to tell you this doesn't end until he gets what he wants." Vincent's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. "Tell Wade I have a message for him. Evelyn Marlowe is under my protection. She's family. And if he or anyone working for him comes near her again, it won't be a conversation. It'll be a war." The three men exchanged glances. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and they knew it. The man with the crowbar dropped it, held up his hands. "We're just doing a job, man. Nothing personal." "Then find a different job." The three men backed toward their truck, got in. The engine started. But before they could drive away, Vincent walked to the driver's side window, leaned down. "One more thing. That man in the hospital. The one Miss Marlowe saved this morning. Tell Wade that if anything happens to him, I'll know it was Wade. And I'll respond accordingly." The driver nodded, eyes wide. The truck pulled away, taillights disappearing into the darkness. Vincent turned back to find Evelyn staring at him, recognition dawning on her face. "You," she whispered. "You're the man from the desert." Vincent nodded, walked toward her slowly like approaching a spooked horse. He stopped a few feet away, pulled his vest open, unbuttoned his shirt enough to reveal the tattoo on his chest. The skull with wings. The incomplete left wing. Evelyn's hand went to her own left shoulder where an identical tattoo sat beneath her shirt. 12 years, Vincent said quietly. "I've been looking for you, to say thank you. To tell you that what you did mattered. To make sure you know that you're not alone." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "I thought I'd never see you again." "I made a promise. If you ever needed help, I'd come. No questions, no hesitation." He gestured to the 5 men behind him. "We all made that promise." Loretta stepped forward, looked at Vincent, at her daughter, at the motorcycles and the men, and the sheer improbability of this moment. "Someone needs to tell me what's going on." Vincent nodded. "We will, but not here. Not out in the open. We need to get somewhere safe, somewhere Wade can't reach." Ray stepped forward. "Clubhouse is 20 minutes south. Secure, defensible." Colt added, "We've got the full chapter meeting there in an hour. Everyone will be on site." Vincent looked at Evelyn. "Will you come with us?" She hesitated. Old instincts telling her to run, to hide, to handle this alone. But Loretta put a hand on her arm. "These men came to help you. Trust them." Evelyn looked at her mother, at Vincent, at the 5 men standing watch like sentinels. She nodded. "We'll need to get your car towed," Vincent said. "Ray called Jimmy. Tell him to bring the flatbed out here. Priority pickup." Ray pulled out his phone, walked away to make the call. Vincent turned to Evelyn and Loretta. "You'll ride with Ray and Finn. They'll keep you safe. I need to make some calls, figure out what Wade's next move is." But before anyone could move, headlights appeared on the horizon. Not one vehicle this time. 5 black SUVs, moving fast. Colt swore under his breath. "Boss, we've got company." Vincent's jaw tightened. "How many?" 5 vehicles. Figure 3 per vehicle. 15 men. Finn did the math. "We've got 6 here. 12 more on the way. 18 total." "Against 15, Colt said. "Not great odds." Vincent pulled out his phone. Hit a speed dial number. "Sheriff Brooks, it's Vincent. I need a favor." As Sheriff Daniel Brooks answered on the second ring. His voice was gruff, tired. Vincent, it's late. Highway 89, mile marker 43. Situation developing. No shots fired yet, but it's heading that way. A pause while Brooks processed. Vincent could almost hear the man's brain working through the implications. Hell's Angels plus late night highway plus situation developing equaled nothing good. How many of yours? Yeah, 6 on site, 12 incoming. And the other side, say 15, maybe more. Brooks sighed. The sound of a man who'd seen too much and knew he was about to see more. I'm 10 minutes out. Hold position. Don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Vincent. We'll hold. Vincent hung up, turned to his crew. Sheriff's 10 minutes out. We hold until then. The 5 black SUVs pulled to a stop in formation, engines running, headlights creating a wall of light, doors opened, men stepped out. Not street thugs this time, not hired muscle. These men moved with military precision, body armor under jackets, weapons visible but not drawn, professional, disciplined, and in the center of the formation, stepping out of the middle vehicle, was Wade Garrison himself, 45 years old, tailored suit that probably cost more than Vincent's motorcycle. Graying hair styled with product, a face that belonged in a boardroom, not on a desert highway. He walked forward with the confidence of a man who'd never lost a fight, because he always stacked the deck in his favor. He stopped 20 feet from Vincent, smiled. Vincent Blackwood, it's been a long time. Not long enough. Wade's smile widened. Still angry about Vegas. That was business, nothing personal. You killed my cousin. He was in the way. Wade said it like he was discussing the weather. Like Tommy's life had been nothing more than an inconvenience. Vincent's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't move, didn't rise to the bait. Wade's eyes shifted to Evelyn, standing behind Vincent protected by Loretta and 3 Hells Angels. Miss Marlowe, we need to have a conversation about the man you killed 12 years ago. Evelyn's voice was steadier than she felt. That was self-defense. He broke into my apartment. He was my informant. My eyes and ears in Vegas. Without him, I lost track of the Angels. Lost millions and disrupted business. Wade took a step closer. His men shifted hands, moving toward weapons. And then you disappeared. Made me look weak. Behind Vincent, his crew mirrored the movement. Hands near guns. Ready. Here's what's going to happen, Wade said. Miss Marlowe is going to come with me, voluntarily. We're going to settle accounts, and then everyone else gets to walk away. That's not happening, Vincent said flatly. Then we have a problem. We've had a problem for 12 years. This is just the first time you've had the guts to face me directly. Wade's smile faded. I have 15 men. You have 6. 18, Ray corrected from behind Vincent. 12 more on the way. Still not enough. And then from somewhere in the distance came the sound of sirens. Blue and red lights flashed on the horizon. Getting closer. Wade's expression darkened. You called the cops. I called a friend, Vincent said. Sheriff Daniel Brooks. Good man, fair. And he owes me from the time we pulled his deputies out of a bar, fight with some out-of-town trouble. Wade's jaw clenched. This isn't over. No, Vincent agreed. It's not, but it's not happening here, not tonight. The sheriff's cruiser pulled up, lights still flashing. Sheriff Brooks got out. 58 years old, gray hair, hard eyes that had seen every kind of trouble Arizona had to offer. He walked to the center of the standoff, looked at Wade, at Vincent, at the 15 armed men facing 6 bikers. Gentlemen, he said calmly, we have a problem here. Wade's voice was smooth professional. No problem, Sheriff. Just a misunderstanding. Funny. I got a call about armed men threatening civilians on a public highway. That sounds like more than a misunderstanding. Yeah, Wade's eyes narrowed. But he knew better than to push. Not with a sheriff watching. Not with potential witnesses. We were just leaving. Good idea. Wade looked past the sheriff at Evelyn. This isn't finished, Miss Marlowe. I'm a patient man, but patience has limits. He turned and walked back to his vehicle. His men followed. The 5 SUVs pulled away one by one until their taillights disappeared into the night. Sheriff Brooks turned to Vincent. You want to tell me what that was about? Old business from Vegas. Wade Garrison doesn't come to Arizona unless it's serious. It is serious. He's after someone under my protection. Brooks looked at Evelyn, at Loretta. Understanding dawned. The woman from 12 years ago. The one you've been looking for. Vincent nodded. Brooks sighed. You know I can't protect you if this turns into a war. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to give us time to figure out a solution. How much time? 48 hours. Brooks considered, then nodded. 48 hours. After that, if Wade's still making noise, I have to step in officially. And that means arrest charges the whole mess. Understood. Brooks tipped his hat to Loretta. Ma'am, sorry you got caught up in this. Loretta gave him a tight smile. Young man, I've been caught up in worse. Brooks chuckled despite himself, got back in his cruiser and drove away. The highway fell quiet again. Vincent turned to his crew. Ray, where's the tow truck? 5 minutes out. Good. Once Evelyn's car is loaded, we head to the clubhouse. Full lockdown protocol. Nobody in or out without clearance. Colt pulled out his phone. I'll call ahead. Get the prospects to set up perimeter. Finn looked at Evelyn. You okay? She nodded. Still processing everything. Loretta put an arm around her daughter. We're going to be all right. Evelyn wanted to believe that, but she'd seen the look in Wade's eyes. The cold calculation. This wasn't over. It was barely beginning. The clubhouse appeared 20 minutes later. A large warehouse-style building on the outskirts of Flagstaff, surrounded by chain-link fence. Guard at the gate. The gate opened as they approached. The bikes rolled through into a parking lot filled with more motorcycles. Dozens of them. The full chapter was assembling. Vincent pulled to a stop near the main entrance, killed his engine, helped Loretta off. She pulled off her helmet hair, wild eyes bright. That, she said, was extraordinary. Vincent allowed himself a small smile. You did good, Mrs. Marlowe. Evelyn and Finn pulled up beside them. Evelyn dismounted, legs shaky, adrenaline fading. Ray appeared at her side. You all right? She nodded. I think so. The clubhouse door opened. More men in leather vests emerged, patches reading Northern Arizona, Hell's Angels, 1%. They looked at Evelyn with curiosity, with respect, because they knew who she was. They knew what she'd done. They knew the story. Vincent raised his voice, addressing the assembled chapter. Brothers, 12 years ago, this woman saved my life, saved Kyle Mercer's life. Tonight, the man who tried to kill us has come for her, and we're going to make sure he fails. A roar of approval from the gathered bikers. Vincent continued. Wade Garrison is in Flagstaff. He's got 15 men, maybe more. He wants Evelyn Marlowe, and he's not going to stop until he gets her or we make him stop. Silence now, serious faces, men who understood the stakes. We have 48 hours before the sheriff has to step in officially. 48 hours to end this, protect the family, and send Wade back to whatever hole he crawled out of. Another roar. Fists raised, engines revved in approval. Vincent turned to Evelyn. You're safe here. Nobody gets through that gate without going through us first. Evelyn looked at the faces around her. Men she didn't know, men who were ready to fight for her because of something she'd done 12 years ago without expecting anything in return. She felt tears sting her eyes. White. Vincent's answer was simple. Because you're family now, and we don't abandon family. Loretta put her arm around her daughter, held her close, and for the first time in a very long time, Evelyn Marlowe allowed herself to hope. But 20 miles away in a luxury suite at the Pinecrest Hotel, Wade Garrison stood at the window, phone to his ear. Bring everyone, he said quietly. Every man we have in Nevada, California, New Mexico. I want them here by tomorrow night. A pause while he listened. Yes, all of them. This ends in 48 hours, one way or another. He hung up, stared out at the lights of Flagstaff, smiled, and began planning his war. The clubhouse smelled of motor oil, leather, and coffee that had been sitting too long on the burner. Evelyn and Loretta sat in what the club called the chapel, a large room with a long wooden table chairs lining both sides. Patches and photographs covered the walls, faces of brothers past and present, some alive, some gone. At the head of the table sat an empty chair reserved for the club president, Vincent Blackwood's chair. But Vincent wasn't sitting. He stood near the window, arms crossed, watching the parking lot, watching the gate, watching for threats that might come in the night. Ray Dalton leaned against the far wall. Colt Monroe checked his phone every 30 seconds. Finn Rourke paced like a caged animal. 12 other members filled the remaining chairs, faces hard, eyes alert. Men who'd seen combat, men who understood what was coming. The door opened. Dylan Cross entered, 42 years old sergeant-at-arms, the man responsible for security and discipline within the club. Muscular build, shaved headscar running through his left eyebrow. He'd done 2 tours in Iraq before finding the Brotherhood. Dylan's eyes swept the room, landed on Evelyn. Boss, he said, we need to talk, private. Vincent shook his head. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of everyone. Dylan hesitated, then nodded. All right, with all respect, boss, we don't know this woman. 12 years is a long time. How do we know she's not setting us up? The room went tense. Ray straightened. Vince vouches for her. Vince was half dead 12 years ago, Dylan countered. Memories can be wrong. People can lie. Vincent's voice was calm, controlled. Dylan, I hear you, but this woman saved my life. Saved Kyle's life. That's not something I'm wrong about. Maybe not, but we're talking about going to war with Wade Garrison. The man has resources, connections, trained soldiers. All for a woman who shows up out of nowhere claiming she saved your life over a decade ago. Loretta started to stand, but Evelyn put a hand on her mother's arm. He's right, Evelyn said quietly. Every head turned toward her. She stood up, looked at Dylan directly. You don't know me. You have no reason to trust me. And Vincent was badly injured that night. His memories could be compromised. She unbuttoned the top of her shirt, pulled the fabric aside to reveal her left shoulder. The tattoo. The skull with wings. The incomplete left wing. 12 years ago, Evelyn said, I pulled a man off Highway 95 in Nevada. He had a dislocated right shoulder, 3 broken ribs on the left side, and a concussion. His friend Tommy had been shot 3 times in the chest. His other friend Kyle had a broken spine at lumbar vertebrae 2 through 4. She looked at Vincent. You had a fever of 101 on the second night. Kept calling for someone named Maria. That was Tommy's girlfriend. I gave you morphine for the pain and cefazolin for infection. Kyle's fever spiked to 102 on the second night. I used ice packs and increased his antibiotic dosage. The room was silent. On the third day, Evelyn continued, before your people arrived, you asked me my full name. I said, just Evelyn. You said, I owe you my life. I said, then stay alive. Make it count. Dylan stared at her. Those details, medical specifics, private conversations weren't in any report, weren't public knowledge. You asked me why I was doing it, Evelyn said. Helping you. I said, because if I don't, you'll die. And I've seen enough people die this year. Vincent's voice was rough. Your mentor at Sunrise Hospital had died 6 months before. Overdose. You blamed yourself because you couldn't save him. Evelyn nodded, tears in her eyes now. Dr. Marcus Flynn. He was my friend. I found him too late. Dylan sat down heavily. I believe you. Then the tension in the room eased. Evelyn wiped her eyes. But I don't want your protection. I've survived 12 years alone. Wade Garrison won't stop. He'll come after anyone I care about. That's why I need to leave. Tonight, before he figures out who my mother is. No. Loretta stood up. Absolutely not. Mom, if he finds out you're my mother, he'll use you against me. Then he finds out, and he learns this family doesn't run. Vincent stepped forward. Mrs. Marlowe is right. Running won't solve this. Wade will just keep hunting, keep pushing. The only way to end it is to face him head on. Evelyn shook her head. You don't understand what he's capable of. I was there 12 years ago, Vincent said quietly. I watched him order the execution of 3 men without blinking. I know exactly what he's capable of. He pulled out a chair, sat down across from Evelyn. But here's what Wade doesn't understand. He thinks people are tools, things to be used and discarded. He doesn't understand loyalty. He doesn't understand family. Vincent looked around the table at his brothers. We do, and that's why we'll win. Ray cleared his throat. We need to know his next move. Get ahead of him. Colt nodded. He's in town, probably at the Pinecrest Hotel. That's where guys like him stay when they come to Flagstaff. Finn pulled out his phone, started typing. I've got a cousin who works there. Front desk. Let me make a call. He stepped out of the room. Vincent turned back to Evelyn. Tell me everything you know about Wade Garrison, his habits, his weaknesses, anything that might help. Evelyn took a breath, organized her thoughts. He's methodical, patient, he doesn't act on impulse, everything is calculated. When he came after me 12 years ago, he didn't send everyone at once. He sent one person, then another, testing, probing, looking for the weak point. What's his weakness? Ray asked. Pride? Evelyn said immediately. He can't stand being made to look weak. That's why he's here. It's been 12 years, but he never forgot, never forgave. Because in his world, letting me get away made him look weak. Vincent absorbed this. So if we make him look weak again, he'll escalate. Come at us with everything he has. Yes. Good, Vincent said. Let him. We'll be ready. The door opened. Finn came back and faced grim. Wade checked into the Pinecrest 3 hours ago. Presidential suite. He's got 8 men with him in the building, more arriving tomorrow. How many more? Vincent asked. My cousin heard him on the phone, something about 20 additional men flying in from Nevada and California, supposed to be here by tomorrow night. Ray did the math. That's 28 total against our 18. Plus prospects, Colt added. Another 6 if we count them. 24 against 28, Vincent said. Dylan shook his head. Still not good odds. Loretta spoke up, her voice cutting through the tactical discussion like a knife. What about going on the offensive? Every head turned. She stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the motorcycles lined up in neat rows, at the fence, at the guards standing watch. She thought about her late husband, about the years she'd spent as a Navy nurse, about the things she'd seen, the decisions she'd had to make. She turned back to face the room. You said Wade's pride is his weakness. You said he can't stand looking weak, so make him look weak, publicly, in a way he can't ignore. Ray leaned forward. What are you suggesting? Loretta's eyes were sharp, clear. You said he's at the Pinecrest Hotel. That's a public place. Cameras, witnesses. He won't do anything there that makes him look bad. She walked back to the table, placed her hands flat on the surface. So tomorrow morning my daughter and I walk into that hotel. We sit in the lobby, we have breakfast, and we dare him to do something about it. The room erupted. That's suicide, Colt said. That's brilliant, Ray countered. Finn shook his head. He'll grab them the second they walk through the door. Not with witnesses, Loretta said calmly. Not with hotel staff. Not with security cameras who's recording everything. Men like Wade Garrison operate in shadows. Force him into the light and he has to play by different rules. Vincent stared at her, seeing something he hadn't expected. Steel beneath the floral dress and silver hair. Mrs. Marlowe, with all due respect, you're talking about using yourself and your daughter as bait. I'm talking about taking control of the situation instead of waiting for the axe to fall. Evelyn grabbed her mother's arm. Mom, no, this is insane. Loretta looked down at her daughter. You've been running for 12 years. It's time to stop. I'm not letting you walk into danger because of me. You don't get to choose. I'm your mother. That means I walk into danger if that's what it takes to keep you safe. So Vincent stood. If we do this, we do it right. Full coverage, eyes on every exit, men positioned inside and out. At the first sign of trouble, we extract both of you. How many men can you get inside the hotel without being obvious? Loretta asked. Vincent thought about it. 4, maybe 5 if we stagger the timing. The rest will be outside, ready to move. Ray pulled out his phone, started texting. I'll coordinate positions. Colt was already typing on his laptop. I'll see if I can get access to the hotel cameras. Dylan looked at Vincent. Boss, this is risky. If something goes wrong, then we adapt. We've been in worse situations. He turned to Evelyn. This is your call. Your life, your choice. We'll support whatever you decide. Evelyn looked at her mother, at the determination in Loretta's eyes. She thought about 12 years of hiding, 12 years of looking over her shoulder, 12 years of cutting herself off from everyone and everything because she was afraid. She was tired of being afraid. We do it, she said quietly. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Vincent nodded. Then we have tonight to prepare. The meeting broke up. Brothers dispersed to their assignments, weapons checked, positions assigned, vehicles prepped. Loretta and Evelyn were given a private room in the back of the clubhouse. Small but clean, 2 beds, a bathroom, a lock on the door. Evelyn sat on one of the beds, head in her hands. Loretta sat beside her, put an arm around her shoulders. Talk to me, baby. Evelyn's voice was muffled. I'm scared, Mom. I know. What if something happens to you because of me? Then it happens, and I'll have spent my last moments protecting my daughter. There are worse ways to go. Evelyn looked up, eyes red. How are you so calm? Loretta smiled, sad but genuine. I'm not calm, I'm terrified. But I learned a long time ago that fear is just information. It tells you the stakes are high. It doesn't tell you what to do. She brushed a strand of hair from Evelyn's face. Your father used to say that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's deciding that something else matters more. What matters more than staying alive? Living matters more, really living, not just surviving. Evelyn leaned against her mother. I've missed so much. 12 years of hiding, of not having friends, not having a life. Then tomorrow we get your life back. They sat in silence for a while, mother and daughter, preparing for what might be their last night together. Outside the clubhouse hummed with activity, men moving with purpose, the machinery of the club gearing up for war. Vincent stood in the parking lot, phone to his ear. Kyle, it's Vincent. Kyle Mercer's voice came through, tired but alert. Boss, it's been a while. I need to tell you something. I found her. And silence on the other end. Then quietly, the woman from Vegas. Her name is Evelyn Marlowe. She's here, at the clubhouse. After 12 years. After 12 years. Another pause. Why now? Wade Garrison is why. He's come for her, and we're going to stop him. Kyle's voice hardened. Tell me what you need. I need you to know that if something happens tomorrow, it was worth it. Finding her, protecting her, keeping the promise we made. Nothing's going to happen. But if it does, Kyle, you don't quit. You've never quit. Don't start now. Vincent smiled despite himself. How are you doing? Same as always. Physical therapy twice a week, learning to live with what is instead of what was. I'm sorry for everything. Don't be. I'm alive because of her. We both are. So you protect her. You hear me? You do whatever it takes. I will. And Vince, tell her thank you from me. I will. He hung up, stood in the darkness for a moment, gathering himself. Ray appeared beside him. Everyone's in position for tomorrow. Colt's got access to the hotel security feeds. Finn's coordinating the outside perimeter. Good. You really think this will work? I think it's the best option we have. Ray was quiet for a moment. That woman, Mrs. Marlowe, she's got steel in her. She does. Reminds me of my grandmother. Looked like she couldn't hurt a fly, but she once chased a burglar out of her house with a rolling pin. Vincent chuckled. Sounds about right. They stood together, two men who'd seen too much, done too much, but still believed in something bigger than themselves. Get some sleep, Vincent said. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. You too, boss. But neither of them slept much that night. Morning came too fast. 6:30. The clubhouse stirred. Coffee brewing. Engines warming up. Loretta and Evelyn emerged from their room, both dressed simply. Jeans, blouses, nothing flashy. Nothing that would draw attention. Loretta had pulled her hair back. Evelyn wore hers down. They looked like a mother and daughter going out for breakfast, which in a way they were. Vincent met them in the main room. You ready? Loretta nodded. As ready as we'll ever be. He handed them each a small device, earpieces. We'll be able to hear everything. If you need us, just say the word coffee twice. We'll move immediately. Evelyn tucked the earpiece into her ear, adjusted it until it was comfortable. Ray and Finn will already be in the hotel, Vincent continued. Ray's in the restaurant. Finn's in the lobby reading a newspaper. Colt is watching the security feeds from here. I'll be outside with the rest of the crew, ready to move on a moment's notice. He looked them both in the eyes. You don't have to do this. Yes, Loretta said firmly. We do. Vincent nodded, respected that. At 7:45. A prospect drove Loretta and Evelyn to the Pinecrest Hotel in a nondescript sedan, dropped them at the front entrance, drove away. They walked through the revolving doors like they owned the place. The lobby was elegant. Marble floors, chandelier overhead, soft music playing from hidden speakers. A few business travelers sat in leather chairs reading papers, checking phones. Finn Rourke sat near the window. Newspaper open, eyes scanning the room. Loretta and Evelyn walked to the restaurant. The hostess greeted them with a smile. Table for two? Yes, please, Loretta said. Near the window if you have it. They were seated. Menus provided. Coffee poured. Ray Dalton sat 3 tables away, alone, eating scrambled eggs, reading something on his tablet. The restaurant was half full. Morning crowd, business people, tourists, no one paying particular attention to 2 women having breakfast. Evelyn's hand shook as she picked up her coffee cup. Loretta reached across the table, squeezed her hand. Breathe. Evelyn breathed. 10 minutes passed. Nothing happened. 20 minutes. Still nothing. And then at 8:15, Wade Garrison walked into the restaurant. He was alone. Tailored suit, polished shoes. Looked like he belonged in this world of luxury hotels and expensive coffee. He saw them immediately, smiled, walked to their table, pulled out a chair, sat down without being invited. Ladies, he said pleasantly. What a coincidence. Loretta's voice was ice. Mr. Garrison, I presume? You presume correctly, and you must be Evelyn's mother. I can see the resemblance. You can see yourself out of this restaurant. Wade's smile never wavered. I just wanted to talk. Surely that's not too much to ask. You sent men to drag me off the highway last night, Evelyn said. That's not talking. That was a misunderstanding. I was simply trying to arrange a meeting. Things got out of hand. Things will get more out of hand if you don't leave, Loretta said. Wade leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. Mrs. Marlowe, I like you. You've got spirit, but you're protecting someone who owes me a debt, and I always collect my debts. Ray's voice came through the earpiece. Calm, steady. Boss, he's at their table. Want me to move? Vincent's voice. Hold position. Let it play out. Loretta met Wade's eyes. My daughter owes you nothing. She defended herself against a man who broke into her home. That's not a debt. That's justice. Justice. Wade tasted the word. Interesting concept. In my world, justice is what you can enforce. And right now, I can enforce quite a lot. He pulled out his phone, showed them a photograph. Evelyn's breath caught. The photograph showed an elderly woman, late 60s, gray hair, kind face, Mrs. Emma Sinclair, Loretta's next-door neighbor. I believe you know this woman, Wade said conversationally. Lives right next to you, Mrs. Marlowe. Lovely lady. We had a very interesting conversation this morning. Loretta's face went pale. Wade continued. She's currently enjoying the hospitality of some friends of mine. Comfortable, safe, for now. Evelyn's voice shook with rage. You son of a bitch! Language, Miss Marlowe. We're in a nice establishment. Vincent's voice in their ears. We're moving. Stay calm. Wade pocketed his phone. Here's how this works. You have until noon today. Evelyn comes with me. Voluntarily. We settle our business. And Mrs. Sinclair goes home unharmed. If you refuse or if your biker friends interfere, Mrs. Sinclair pays the price. He stood, adjusted his tie. Noon. The old warehouse district on the east side of town, Building 17. Come alone, Evelyn, or don't come at all. He walked away, out of the restaurant, through the lobby, into a waiting car. Loretta and Evelyn sat frozen. Ray appeared at their table. We need to move, now. They stood, walked quickly but calmly toward the exit. Finn joined them in the lobby, forming a protective formation. Outside, Vincent's motorcycle pulled up to the curb, 5 more bikes behind him. Loretta and Evelyn climbed into a van that Ray had brought around. Finn drove, Ray rode shotgun. The motorcycles escorted them back to the clubhouse. Inside, Vincent was already on the phone, barking orders, calling in favors. Sheriff Brooks, Wade Garrison just kidnapped a civilian. Mrs. Emma Sinclair, 68 years old, lives on Maple Street. He listened, face darkening. I don't care if you can't prove it yet. I'm telling you it happened. Check her house. You'll find signs of forced entry. He hung up, turned to his assembled brothers. Wade's got a hostage. He wants Evelyn at the warehouse district by noon. That gives us less than 4 hours. Colt looked up from his laptop. I've been running searches on the warehouse district. Building 17 is an old textile factory. 3 stories, multiple entry points, but it's isolated. No nearby buildings. Easy to spot anyone approaching. Perfect spot for an ambush, Ray said. Vincent nodded. He'll have men positioned, probably inside and on the rooftops. If Evelyn goes in alone, she won't come out. Evelyn stood. Then I go in, but not alone. He said come alone. He also said he'd let Mrs. Sinclair go. We both know that's a lie. Loretta grabbed her daughter's arm. There has to be another way. But deep down she knew there wasn't. Vincent looked at his brothers, at the women they'd sworn to protect, at the impossible situation Wade had created, and then he smiled. Hard, cold. All right, Wade wants to play games. Let's play. He turned to Colt. I need you to find Mrs. Sinclair. Use every contact we have. Traffic cameras, security feeds. Someone saw where they took her. Colt's fingers flew over his keyboard. Already on it. Checking city cameras now. 10 minutes later, Colt leaned back. Got something. Black SUV leaving Maple Street at 6:15 this morning. License plate matches a rental to one of Wade's shell companies. Where did it go? Tracked it to the industrial park. Building 12, not 17. Vincent's eyes narrowed. He's splitting our forces. Wants us to send people to rescue Mrs. Sinclair while he ambushes Evelyn at Building 17. Smart, Ray said. What do we do? Dylan asked. Vincent turned to the room, addressed all 18 members present. We split up. Ray, you take 10 brothers to Building 12. Get Mrs. Sinclair out. Quiet, fast, no heroics. Ray nodded. Colt, Dylan, Finn, and the rest come with me to Building 17. We'll be Evelyn's backup. He looked at Evelyn and Loretta. You both stay here, under guard. No, Evelyn said. I'm going. Absolutely not. Wade wants me. If I don't show, he'll kill Mrs. Sinclair regardless. Vincent started to argue. Stopped. She was right. Fine. But you're wearing body armor. And you don't move without my say-so. Evelyn nodded. Loretta stood. I'm coming too. Mrs. Marlowe, that woman is my neighbor, my friend. And this is happening because of my family. I'm coming. Vincent looked at her. Saw the same determination he'd seen last night. The same steel. All right, but you stay in the van. You don't leave the vehicle under any circumstances. Loretta agreed, but in her mind she was already planning something else entirely. 11:30. The convoy assembled. Two groups. Ray's team heading to Building 12 in unmarked vehicles. Vincent's team heading to Building 17. Evelyn sat in the back of Vincent's van, body armor strapped over her clothes, hands clenched in her lap. Loretta sat beside her, holding her hand. "Whatever happens," Loretta said quietly, "I want you to know I'm proud of you." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I should have told you everything years ago. I should have trusted you." "I know, I've always known." The van pulled into the warehouse district. Abandoned buildings, broken windows, graffiti-covered walls. Building 17 loomed ahead. 3 stories of brick and rust. Wade's black SUV sat out front, waiting. The van stopped 200 yards away, out of sight behind Building 15. Vincent turned in his seat. "Evelyn, you walk in. Get Wade talking. We'll be right behind you. The second we have a clean shot at extracting you, we move." "What about Mrs. Sinclair?" Colt's voice came through the radio. "Ray's team just breached Building 12. They've got eyes on Mrs. Sinclair. She's alive. 4 guards. They're moving in now." Evelyn closed her eyes, relief washing over her. "When Mrs. Sinclair is clear," Vincent continued, "we end this, fast and hard." Evelyn nodded, opened the van door. Loretta grabbed her hand. "Be careful." "I will." Evelyn stepped out, started walking toward Building 17. The door was open, waiting. She walked through, inside. The warehouse was dark. Shafts of sunlight cutting through holes in the roof. Dust motes dancing in the air. Wade stood in the center of the space. 15 men around him, armed. "Miss Marlowe," Wade said. "Right on time. I appreciate punctuality." "Where is Mrs. Sinclair?" Wade smiled. "Safe, for now, assuming you cooperate." "I'm here. Let her go." "All in good time. First we settle our debt." Behind Building 15, Vincent and his team moved into position, circling the warehouse, weapons ready. Colt's voice came through the radio. "Ray's team has Mrs. Sinclair. Extracting now. 4 tangos down. No casualties on our side." Vincent allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Move to Phase 2. Inside the warehouse, Wade circled Evelyn like a shark. 12 years ago, you cost me everything. My business in Vegas, my reputation, my brother. Your brother broke into my apartment. I defended myself. And for that, you deserve to die." He pulled a gun, pointed it at her head. "Any last words?" Evelyn met his eyes. "Yes. Coffee, coffee." The code word. The warehouse exploded into chaos. Windows shattered. Hell's Angels poured in from every entrance. Vincent in the lead. Wade's men opened fire. Bullets ricocheted off concrete. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness. Vincent tackled Evelyn to the ground, shielded her body with his own. "Stay down!" The firefight lasted 90 seconds. It felt like an hour. When the shooting stopped, 14 of Wade's men were on the ground, dead or wounded. The 15th had his hands up, surrendering. Wade Garrison was gone. Vincent pulled Evelyn to her feet. "You hurt—" She shook her head, ears ringing, heart pounding. "Where's Wade?" Dillon pointed to a back door. "He ran when the shooting started, headed for the parking lot." Vincent sprinted for the exit, burst through. Wade was climbing into his SUV. Vincent raised his weapon. "Don't!" Wade smiled, held up a small device, a detonator. "You think you've won?" "I've got insurance. This isn't, He pressed the button. Nothing happened. Wade's smile faltered. He pressed it again, and again. Still nothing. Vincent's radio crackled. Loretta's voice, calm, almost amused. "Looking for this Mr. Garrison." Wade's head snapped toward the SUV. Loretta May Marlowe climbed out of the back seat. In her hand she held the detonator. The real one. Not the decoy Wade had been holding. "How did you get in my vehicle?" "I'm 72 years old," Loretta said. "That means I've had 72 years to learn that men like you always have a backup plan. So while you were busy posturing in that hotel this morning, I was busy planning. When our convoy split up, I slipped away. Found your SUV in the hotel parking garage. The back cargo area was unlocked. Careless. I hid under a tarp, waited until you drove here, then searched while you were inside, threatening my daughter. Found your little insurance policy. Switched it with a TV remote I found in your glove box." Wade stared at her, genuine shock on his face. "You're insane. No, I'm a mother, and you threatened my daughter." Sheriff Brooks's cruiser pulled into the lot, lights flashing. 4 more vehicles behind him. Brooks got out, walked toward Wade. Handcuffs ready. "Wade Garrison, you're under arrest for kidnapping, attempted murder, and about 24 other charges I'll be adding later." Wade looked at Vincent, at Loretta, at Evelyn walking out of the warehouse alive and whole. "This isn't over." Loretta walked up to him, looked him dead in the eye. "Yes, it is. You fought for pride. I fought for family. That's why you lost. Brooks cuffed Wade, led him away. Evelyn ran to her mother. Mom, you could have been killed. If he'd found you in that car, if he'd checked while you were hiding, you were taking an insane risk. But I wasn't found. And neither were you. We're both alive. And that monster's going to prison. They held each other, both shaking, both alive. Vincent approached. Mrs. Marlowe, what you did was incredibly dangerous. I know. It was also incredibly brave. He extended his hand. Welcome to the family. Loretta shook it, smiled. Thank you for keeping your promise. Vincent turned to Evelyn. Kyle asked me to tell you something. He said thank you, from him. He wanted you to know he's okay, that he made peace with what happened. He's building a good life. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. Is he really okay? He's alive because of you. We both are. And that's everything. Ray's team arrived. Mrs. Emma Sinclair in tow, shaken but unharmed. She saw Loretta and burst into tears. Loretta, they grabbed me right out of my kitchen. I thought I was going to die. I know, but you're safe now. The convoy headed back to the clubhouse. Wade in Sheriff Brooks's custody. His men arrested or fled. It was over. 3 months later, the courtroom was packed. Families of Wade's victims, press, law enforcement. Wade Garrison sat at the defendant's table. Orange jumpsuit, handcuffed. The judge read the verdict. On all counts, guilty. Sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Wade showed no emotion as they led him away, but as he passed Evelyn and Loretta in the gallery, he stopped. You know what scares me most about you? Loretta met his eyes, didn't flinch. Wade smiled, bitter. Not the bikers, not the guns, you. A 72-year-old woman who outsmarted me at every turn. That's because you never understood what I was fighting for, Loretta said. You fought for pride. I fought for family. Wade was led away. Evelyn squeezed her mother's hand. It's really over. It is. Outside the courthouse, 18 motorcycles waited. Vincent Blackwood stood beside his bike, holding 2 leather vests, custom-made, patches reading honorary member. He handed one to Evelyn, one to Loretta. The club voted unanimously. Your family now, official. Evelyn slipped the vest on. It fit perfectly. Loretta did the same. Ran her fingers over the patch. Thank you. You earned it. That Saturday, the Hells Angels Northern Arizona chapter held a charity ride. Evelyn's Clinic for Underserved Communities was the beneficiary. 200 riders showed up, from 5 states. They raised $50,000 in a single day. Loretta and Evelyn rode with the convoy. Loretta behind Vincent, Evelyn behind Ray. The highway stretched out ahead of them, open, free. For the first time in 12 years, Evelyn wasn't looking over her shoulder. For the first time in the 12 years, she was home. 6 months after the trial, Evelyn stood in her new clinic, clean, bright, full of medical equipment purchased with donations from the club and the community. A photograph hung on the wall. 18 motorcycles on an open highway at sunset. Written on the back in Vincent's handwriting was, Family isn't blood, it's chosen, always. Evelyn smiled. Heard the rumble of motorcycles outside. Saturday, community clinic day. The brothers always showed up, helped with maintenance, talked with patients, made people feel safe. Loretta walked in. 72 years old, wearing her Hells Angels vest over a floral dress. The combination should have looked ridiculous. It looked perfect. Ready for the rush? Loretta asked. Evelyn nodded. Let's do this. The doors opened as patients filed in. The clinic filled with life. Outside, Vincent leaned against his bike, Ray beside him. You ever think we'd end up here? Ray asked. Running charity clinics with a 72-year-old woman and her daughter? Vincent smiled. No, but I'm glad we did. Boss, I've been wanting to ask, that tattoo, the incomplete wing, you ever gonna finish it? Vincent looked down at his vest, at the patch covering his chest. No, it stays incomplete. A reminder that some debts can't ever fully be repaid. You just keep trying, keep honoring the promise. Ray nodded. Understood. The 2 men stood in comfortable silence, watching the clinic, watching the community they'd helped build. A woman and her daughter walked past. The girl couldn't have been more than 6. She saw the motorcycles. Her eyes went wide. Mommy, look, are they bad guys? The mother glanced at Vincent and Ray, at the Hells Angels patches on their vests, at the clinic behind them with its steady stream of people being helped. She smiled. No, honey, they're the good guys. The little girl waved. Vincent waved back, and in that moment everything they'd fought for, everything they'd risked made sense. The rumble of engines, the smell of leather and motor oil, the weight of the patch on their backs. It wasn't about the ride, it wasn't about the reputation, it was about the promise. And Vincent Blackwood had learned long ago that a man was only as good as his word. He had given his word 12 years ago, and he'd kept it. The sun set over Flagstaff, painting the sky orange and gold. Loretta stood on the clinic steps, watching the light fade. Evelyn joined her. "What are you thinking about?" "Your father. He would have loved this, all of it." "He would have loved them," Evelyn said, nodding toward the bikers. "He would have. Because he understood what they understand. That family is what you build, not what you're born into." They stood together, mother and daughter, watching the day end and the night begin. And somewhere in the distance the rumble of motorcycles echoed across the desert. A promise kept, a family forged, a life reclaimed.